Welcome to another exciting episode of Coffin Radio. I am Heartthrob Rob. Joining me is lead singer Sweat and professional wrestler Tuna. Tuna, how are you doing? Tell him, baby, tell him.
I'm just so good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so stoked to see you. You're about to play at program. What goes your head before a big show like this?
Just have fun. Like, be in a good headspace. Sometimes you're not in a good headspace, and playing is so cathartic that, like, by the second or third song, you're like, yeah, you know, it's just... but yeah, today is all the bands or friends that have been friends for a long time through this, like, in punk and hardcore. So yeah, it's just awesome to, like, watch everyone's evolution as musicians through punk.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, you guys do play, like, a pissed-off version. You know, it's, like, hardcore punk, you know what I mean? And it's just loud and super aggressive, and that's, like, up my alley. But how would you describe Sweat's sound?
I mean...
Sweat.
Sweat. When we first started the band, we wanted it to be, like, a mix of Cro-Mags, which is, like, New York hardcore, and Thin Lizzy, which is just, like, classic rock and roll. So that was kind of, like, our starting point. And it's kind of morphed from there. And I try not to, especially when we're writing, I try not to listen to any hardcore or any punk.
Wow.
Because I don't want to, like, accidentally, like subconsciously, like, rip someone off. I listen to a lot of disco and a lot of hip hop because, like, both of those have very interesting cadences of, like, vocally, you know, because I'm trying not to do, like, the same thing as everyone else. Yeah, I saw Subhumans recently. We played a show with them. And I realized watching them, I'm like, oh, I ripped some of your cadences off.
Oh my God, you felt it? You noticed it?
Yeah, I was like, because I, like, grew up listening to them, and so I'm just like, yeah. And then, like, watching it live, I'm like, oh, that's just, like, ingrained in me because I, like, listen to it so much.
But that's, like, cool, the kind of influences that you're trying to listen to. You said, like, disco or hip hop, whatever it might be. You know, that's very cool. What does hardcore mean to you? I mean, you're fucking gung-ho aggressive with it, like, with all of it. What does it mean to you?
I mean, oh man, there's so many parts of it. I truly do believe that hardcore, and music in general, but especially hardcore, like, actually, like, saved my life. Like, there's, you know, family history of, like, addiction and whatnot, and I just remember, like, being a teen and, like, finding hardcore and punk and, like, oh, you can play music and just, like, make it happen anywhere. And, like, you can have people up there who are just, like, so fucking smart and are just like, hey, look at this shit. Like, you know, and they just, like, open you up to new ideas and be like, oh, I never thought of that. And, like, yeah. You know, I went vegetarian when I was a kid. I went vegetarian when I was 4. But I remember just, like, being at a show and there's, like, people flyering for, like, Meet Your Meat, which is, like, was a PETA campaign. And I was like, yeah, why do I eat dairy and cheese? Like, I should just be vegan. Like, it's the same reasons why I don't eat meat. Like, you know, I just didn't know all that stuff. So it's just, like, bringing very, like, much needed awareness to, like, huge subjects that aren't really covered in mainstream media.
That's cool, man. You're fucking sticking to it. And the thing is, you guys are doing it on your own sometimes. You know, like, you're here playing at a skate shop. Shout out to Program. They're amazing.
Yeah, Program.
But you really have that DIY ethic, you know? Does that come from punk rock? And
yeah, I mean, it's you know, I didn't, like, my family was poor growing up. Like, we always had what we needed, but we were very, like, super savvy. And, like, we would just, like, my grandpa gardened a ton. So, like, we always had food because, like, he gardened and would, like, can it and freeze it. And so it was kind of, like, the same with, like, anything you wanted to do. Like, my sister wanted to learn how to do hair, so what did she do? She just, like, fucked up until she got it, and then she was, like, really good at it, you know, like, yeah, so it's just, like, that kind of thing. Like, my mom was always super savvy, and it's just, you know, and then going to punk and being like, oh, this is how it is, let's make it happen, and then, like, you want to, like, make it a thing. So yeah, that's kind of how I do everything. I'm been told I'm a little stubborn because I want to do it all myself.
That's cool, man. What is your relationship with Brain Slam or Brain Dead or the promotion? So
Brain Slam is the marriage of Brain Dead and Suburban Fight. So Suburban Fight is ran by a friend. I don't know if he wants to remain anonymous or not. I think everyone knows who he is, but he's great. But he would do bar fights, basically, no ring, no rules. We did a few with the hi-hat. We did some at the Resident. We did one in Fullerton. We did one in Seattle. And then the pandemic happened. And then when it came back, he was just like wanted to rebrand, and he had started working with Brain Dead, and Brain Dead's like, yeah, let's do it. And like, let's merge. Cause he takes it from a very like artistic approach. Like whenever like you go and you talk to him and you're like, hey, like what's up? How do you see the card tonight? And he's like, you guys are the artists. Like, you know, like I just give you the canvas. Like you do your thing. And it's like super awesome. And he's like super like, you know, if there's some very like rough, like in the future I want it to get to this thing, but like it's like super hands off. Like you do you. So Brain Dead was kind of like, we want to give that a platform and like put some of our artistic spins on it, but it's still like, you know, like hands off of like the wrestling aspect of it, and like you guys are like, you know, the artists, and we want you to do your thing. We're just gonna like help elevate it.
Yeah.
And it's really awesome. It's like such a great environment. Like sometimes I'm like looking around, I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like everyone's like pumped, everyone's cool, I'm like, and I'm just like super skeptical. I'm like, yeah.
That's crazy. Well, you know, as we bring up wrestling, you came in, or you know, you had some training at Knox Pro, or you came in there. How has it been for you working with them?
Oh, Knox is awesome. Like the knowledge, like there's so many times in wrestling where I'm like, oh man, should I do this or this? And I like super overthink it. And I'm like, oh, but we could do this and we could do this. And then I would talk to like Black Pearl or Rikishi, and I'd be like, what do you think about this? And they're like, just do this. And I'm like, duh. Like it's just like so easy to them. Like they could do it, you know, in their sleep, obviously, but they just like come from such a lineage. Like, you know, like the bloodline, like it's not a gimmick. That's like for real. Like they're born into it, you know, like they all just like, you know, even Kishi's son, Sai Sai is maybe 13 now, 14. And like, he just, you know, at like 8, 6, 7, 8, like he was in there and like I already knew more than all of us, like, you know, so it's just like all of it. Like, yeah, it's really like a true like honor and privilege to be around them and just like absorb their knowledge. And they're always like trying to like bring other elements into it too. And yeah, they're always trying to like show other people different cultures, and I just think it's like really, really awesome what they try and highlight. And yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
And that's so bomb that you're under their learning tree, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the first time I met you, or first time I saw you, was actually at a wrestling event when you guys had the one in Fullerton. No ring, no rules.
Oh,
like
yeah.
That's the urban fight. But you know, one of your most famous match is when you have a match against Gigi or Priscilla Kelly at the time. And you know, it's a suburban fight, or you know, something around there. And during the match, she says, "Do you want to taste tuna?" and pulls out a tampon and shoves it in your mouth. Can you tell us the scenario, the situation, how that came about?
Yes. So while we were figuring out what we were gonna do, suburban fight, no ring, no rules. You want to do stuff that's creative, but you also want to like not murder each other, you know, you're not in a ring, but also everyone's kind of doing the same spots because there's only so many like flat surfaces that you can do things on, you know. So we're like really trying to rack our brains, and like we're trying to figure out how we can use psychology with it. And like her gimmick, which she still has pretty much as Gigi, is just like super like trashy, nasty, like unconventional, just like, you know, like, oh, this is what a woman's supposed to be, basically, and just making a mockery of that. So she was just like, I've always wanted to do this, but I've never had the platform to, because like, you don't want to do that if it's an all ages show.
Right.
Suburban Fight was at a bar, so it's 21 and up. So she's like, I think this is kind of the only place to do it. And like, at first I'm like, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, we could work this and this and this. So like, we like really put a lot behind it. And I'm like, yeah. And then like, you know, it was super safe. There's many people who to this day believe it was real.
That's the goal.
That's I got them.
Yeah.
I got grown men on what was it, TMZ? No, not TMZ. No, I think it was TMZ. That were just like, no, it was real. It was real. And the girls were like, no, it's not. And they're like, yes, it was.
What was that like to get that backlash, to hear all that, you know, the online chatter? Twitter blew up ginormously. So what was that like, dude?
I am not on Twitter. I don't care for Twitter. Like, so it didn't go viral for a week.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Gail Kim?
Yeah. No, JR was the first one.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
My bad.
So it didn't go viral for a week. And I was at work one day, and Priscilla texts me, and she goes, hey, dude, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, what? She's like, oh. And I'm like, what? She's like, check Twitter. And then I'm like, oh, Jesus. Go on Twitter. Yeah, and at first I was like, it was really cool, but then I was like kind of really bummed because it's like someone at the level of JR, he tweeted, embarrassing. Like, that was it. And I'm just like that was, you know, you can't be sensitive in wrestling, right? Like, you have to have a tough skin. But it was a little bit of like, oh man, like, we actually put a lot of thought and like psychology behind that. Like, yes, it was like shocking and like, you know, but like, and then I think the tweet that really did bum me out was Gail Kim, because I do like super love and respect her work, and obviously I still do. Like, she can talk as much shit about me as she wants, but you know, I was just like, man, we did put psychology behind that. So yeah, and I also like, and obviously it never would, but I was like freaked out a little bit because I'm like, oh no, this is gonna reflect poorly on Knox Pro. Oh no, what did I do? So then I like called Kishi, and he like gave me advice, and it was cool. But it was a lot of attention. Like, it's a weird feeling to go from like nobody knows you, no one gives a shit about you, to like everyone telling you who and what you are and how you are and like everything about you. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? Yeah. And like, you know, it was around Christmas time, and I was just real. It was a stressful time in my life. I'll leave it at that. So I just kind of like blocked. I didn't block everyone. I went private for a week because I was like, I can't deal. Like, at first I was trying to engage with stuff, and then I'm like, that's too much. Like,
yeah, too much, dude. That's crazy. Well, dude, that was a wild fucking moment. That's like in the history books. Like, bro, they're gonna bring that spot up for a long time. That's very cool. Yeah. Well, where can people keep up with you on social media? A lot of things that you got going on. I mean, Sweat, just all the projects that you have, fucking wrestling. Everything else at your DIY. You guys have shows every fucking weekend. Where can people follow you?
Follow me on Instagram at Tuna Teeth, Teeth. You can follow my band at Sweat_Rockers. All on Instagram. That's my platform of choice.
Yeah, I like that one better.
I waste too much time on the internet as it is. I don't need more platforms.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, any shout-outs as the last band here, you know, as the band starts wrapping up, because I know you got coming up soon in a little bit. Any shout-outs or anything else you'd like to say before we go?
I want to shout out Coffin Radio.
Oh, thank you.
He shares everyone. He interviews everyone. He's always down. Like, have you ever seen him in a bad mood? Never. It's great. We need more of that.
Oh, God bless your heart. Thank you so much, Tuna. I am Heartthrob Rob, and if you like what you're watching, then hop in the coffin. Follow us on social media at Coffin Radio. Coffin is spelled with a K. And that's all for today.